Hello and welcome to the Friday, February 7th, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and I'm recording from Jacksonville, Florida. And Xavier today wrote up an interesting anti-debugging system that he found in a Python script. It is labeling itself as a multi-layer anti-debugging system, actually an unbreakable multi-layer anti-debugging system. It's implemented in various threads that run in parallel. That in itself, of course, makes it a bit more difficult to figure out what's going on here and to disrupt these anti-debugging techniques. Some of them are sort of well known. For example, it checks if the program is being traced, but also has some interesting things. For example, overwrite the file itself with randomized lines in order to prevent hashing. It also does calculate a checksum of its memory footprint ever so often to detect tampering. Interesting techniques here. Of course, they can all get bypassed, in particular in something like a Python script where it's not that difficult to go into the file and make changes to the file, like, for example, to disable some of these techniques. And Xavier is going over some of the other sort of interesting techniques here as well. There are about a dozen or so techniques in total that are being employed by this single piece of malware. When it comes to remote management tools, there's often a fine line between which tools are malicious and which tools are beneficial for an organization. And that line is usually not defined by the tool that's being used, but by who is actually using the tool. We often see, well, most famously, tools like VNC and RDP being used by attackers in order to remote control compromised systems. Silent Push has a good little update on how ScreenConnect is currently being used. Again, a legitimate tool that's often used by administrators to remote manage systems, but is also used by attackers. And Silent Push is listing some of the techniques they are recently seeing here, and also some indicators of a compromise that you may find helpful. In general, when it comes to these remote management tools, you must control them. Only allow authorized tools to be installed. Attackers often install legitimate tools like ScreenConnect or VNC to essentially hide the tool because it's often then not really recognized as malicious as it's a legitimate tool. Also, of course, on the network, you must control what kind of protocols are being used. That tends to be kind of difficult these days because all of these tools typically at least have a mode in which they can just tunnel over HTTPS natively without sort of installing any additional VPN software. And Kaspersky published a blog showing they found malware that steals crypto wallet recovery phrases from both Android and iOS. Of course, different malware, but apparently coming from the same source using similar techniques. Both malware looks for images, then runs OCR on these images using the Google machine learning library, both on iOS and Android, and then exfiltrating any crypto wallet passphrases that they may find. The affected apps have already been removed from respective app stores, but of course, as always, follow-up and copycats once an attack like this becomes known. In this particular case, they included the malicious functionality into a software development kit. And interestingly, the iOS app they found was a Chinese food delivery app that may have just used the particular software development kit. Not sure if the entire app was functional or whether it was just malicious, but very likely that someone who is looking for this particular food delivery app would actually fall for this scam. And then we got a couple of patches to talk about before the weekend. First of all, Cisco released an update for its Identity Services Engine, ISE. It fixes two vulnerabilities that do allow arbitrary code execution as well as authorization bypass. And we got a monthly update from F5. F5 fixed a single TLS-related vulnerability. This vulnerability, I don't think, is that super critical. It's a TLS sort of session resumption vulnerability. Could be used to bypass authentication via client certificates, which of course is interesting. Does require that you have named virtual hosts, which of course is probably rather common. Well, that's it for today. Before I sign off, a little bit of homework. I'm looking for some feedback here. We're just about a month into doing the video part of the podcast, still refining some of the details here, of course, but the two sort of goals I set myself here is, first of all, I don't want to make the audio only version any worse. So let me know if I accomplished that. And if the video version, which I know actually has picked up some viewers across different social media channels in particular, if it does help you, if there's anything that it could make a little bit better here, of course, can't really do much more sort of from a production value here, just because time is limited to produce something like this daily. And eventually I'll start traveling again and has to work while on the road as well. That's it for today. So please send me any feedback and talk to you again on Monday. Bye.